Okay, I'm going to tackle the ear, which is always a tricky part. So we have to preserve these white hairs that are coming out from the ear. They're not entirely white, but I'm going to start with white because we can always add more color. So we're not going to be able to see this part very well first. So I'm grabbing Polychromos white and going to just start drawing some of these white lines. I know you probably can't see anything that I'm doing right now. I'm just putting in some white hairs. I erased most of my marks because this ear is so light, my pencil marks, that I didn't want to see them through, but it's going to make it kind of hard. I'll have to keep double checking with my reference photo to make sure that I have everything where it's supposed to be. All right, so maybe something that we could do would be to map out outside of the ear. Just thinking about what color I want to use. Something that we can see. Okay, at the very top of the the ear, where it's coming around, so there's like a tuft at the top, so that'll be good. We can map that in a second. But I just have the ivory right now, and I'm gonna build the same base that I built around the eyes. Just so I have some color so I can see what's going on. Erasing more of my lines, my pencil lines. I've got some pencil lines up here, but that's going to be okay because there's some darker, I don't know, dark sepia or something right there. So I'm just doing the right side facing the cat of this ear on this left ear. So another thing that I was thinking about with this is that I wasn't planning on doing a background, although I guess it wouldn't be too terrible because it's really only this small section, and it might be good to do a background because the white of the ear is not going to stand out, but it's just something that I'm going to think about. And the green would be really cool matching the eyes. The green in the background. I made mine a square. I think that would be a neat composition, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so then I'm gonna get some, I don't know if I want cinnamon or I guess I'll go with the light beige red. Now the trickiest part is going to be this side of the ear. So I mean, you could indent with something like this or scrape off pencil, especially if you used wax-based pencils. But I'm going to try it just using the pencils because I don't want to get too crazy with the techniques. Okay, so let's use some Beaster, so slowly darkening our pencil colors. Beaster's a really good color. It's one of those yellowy browns. I like it better than raw umber. I just haven't fallen in love with the Polychromos raw umber. It's so yellow. I'm gonna get a piece of glycine paper to put under my hand. So I bought it just in a roll. Oh, I'm so zoomed in, you probably can't see that. So this is, it's, I don't know, maybe it was $20. That was a little while ago, but it'll last forever. So it just looks like this. It's this shiny stuff. It's better to put your hand on that so I don't smear the cat's eye that I've already drawn. Oh, I didn't mean to use that much pressure. Light pressure. Going over top of the layers that we already put down. Pretty orange up here towards the top, at least in my reference photo. I'll have to look at my iPad. Yeah, Beaster looks good. A little burnt sienna. And then this. I guess we could use, maybe what we'll use is maybe a warm gray 3. So this part is going to be the inside of the ear, and then this part I'm going to just start building the base for the tuft. So it's got some dark, maybe dark sepia over top, but it's easier to have the light colors underneath and then draw the darker colors on top when you're using a surface like this. Pastel matte is a little different, and I have to say, I think it might be easier once you figure out how to use it. It's definitely forgiving, more forgiving. Oh, my fly friend is back. That's great. Some of them are kind of sticking up. Usually if I do a background, I do love to do backgrounds, but I do them first. And I did not do that here. I'm just thinking about the background still. Okay. Let's get some burnt sienna to continue to define the edge of the ear. And the shape. I guess that's okay. Careful, careful. These polychromos smear more than the wax pencils. All right, looking for dark sepia. There it is. Actually, that's a warm gray, which isn't bad. I'm not seeing my dark sepia. Use the dark sepia. Just going along the very top of the ear. So down here I want to be careful because there's not that many hairs that are dark, but it will help me to see the outline of the eye. So I'm going to continue on looking at my reference photo. So this tuft is here. Not sure, kind of looking back. I haven't taken that down far enough. Okay, I think that's good. So that's the outside of the ear. There are darker marks on the inside. But I think we'll use maybe some nougat. To fill in some of those shapes. So I'm just doing some shapes really lightly right now of using nougat. So if I mess up at this point, I can still erase somewhat. Just want to map some of this stuff in before I start going over to the other side of the ear. Oh, I hate flies. I know they must serve an ecological purpose, but they're really annoying. I know, Lakota. Okay. So I want to try and map out this side of the eye. So this is going to be tricky. This is where I'm just going to try and draw what I see. I'm not going to get crazy about it, but you have to draw in between the hairs. And I think probably like a warm gray 2 and maybe a flesh on top of that might work. But I'm going to start with the warm gray 2 because I think we'll be able to see that better. So that's up top of the ear. I'm looking at my reference photo. So you have to make sure you leave this, there's a little space between what I'm coloring in right now and the dark sepia area. So I'm going to try and leave that. And right now I'm just going to draw some shapes. And they most certainly don't have to be exact. It's harder to do it when everything is so light because you can't really see it. But I guess the positive of that is if it doesn't look great, then you have an easier time erasing it. Looks to me like the hairs are going up right here. A good way to think of it is kind kind of in chunks. So I see hairs going up like this right here, and then kind of right here sticking out more. And then at this area, they start switching and going downwards. So if I can just capture the direction of where they're going, then you can always fill in later. Tiny little spots. I'm trying to map out the left side of the ear. So it's got a nice white line on the left side, but the thing is, if we don't do a background, you won't see that. Okay, so I think this is where that long hair starts to come out. So this is the white hairs here. Oh, fly. Really? This triangle in here. So we'll put some pinks right there to show where the sun is shining through that side of the cat's ear. Okay, I'm sitting back. I want to make sure I have the outside of the ear mapped correctly. So we're going up. Very easy to get lost on an ear, but it's okay as long as it looks like it makes sense. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna make sure. So the edge of my ear, down here towards the bottom, 1 1/4 to where that starts. So I'm double checking with my reference photo. Let's see if I measured it right there, right there. That's about right. Okay. So for the base inside this ear, let's go ahead and, so I did that. Let's add some beige red to the shadows inside the ear between the hairlines, because these hairs in the ear are not, they're not white, not right here. They're probably a cool gray. So, but a light cool gray. So I'm gonna have to differentiate that between these shadows. So I'm gonna go ahead and slightly start to darken these shadows with this beige red, because this is like the actual skin of the ear that you're seeing, at least on the left side. So you would see some pinkness from that. Especially in this spot. Okay, I'm gonna erase a little of this. It just looks bad, these lines. But it does give me information about where the fur is sticking out. So I wanna be able to see it a little bit. Okay. Now, the hair on the inside, on the top of the ear, is probably a cold gray. So what I'm going to do is kind of make hair marks, but fill in this area with cold gray 1. You can take some of these outside of the ear, and the key to doing that is kind of lift up on your pencil towards the end to give it a tapered look. It's kind of hard, but Using cold gray 1 to fill in these hairs. But don't take them out in this direction just yet until we figure out what we're going to do about this background. If we don't put in a background, we can, I don't know, use a darker color here so that you can see them. Or maybe like a ivory or something, because the sun is on that side of the cat. Okay, so now what I want to do is build up some more color. Let's add some cream. To this side. A little on the top. I'm going to add some burnt sienna. So looking at my reference photo, this part of the ear is a little bit darker. Add some nougat. Just looking at the shapes again. I definitely need some more color in this ear, so I'm gonna start to build that up on the outer part of it and then working in. How about some Beaster? I don't know, Lakota was napping for like 5 minutes. Now he's cleaning himself again like a cat. I will say he doesn't need a bath that often though. I'm gonna dig out that brown ochre. So that was nice around the cat's eye. Just kind of pushing some color on there now. I'm gonna put some ivory down here. So this is the fur that's coming up into the ear. It's overlapping with the ear. But it's kind of dark. So in this one area, it's pretty dark. I'm gonna put in some nougat and then darken it. Now there is a white whisker, I can't believe I couldn't remember what that's called, right there. So I'm just going to leave a spot for it. I don't know if you can see that. There's another one, maybe right here. Okay, so just kind of map it out so that we know where the bottom of the ear is. We have some tufts going on right here. I'm going to add some cinnamon to this part to put some more color in it. It still needs more color. And some cream on top of that because it is yellowy. my squeaky chair. So, warm gray 2. Down here at the bottom, you can see that the ear is a little bit darker at the bottom. And then we'll put some cinnamon on top of it. And it kind of meshes into that. Cinnamon. Let's do some ochre, and I'm going to kind of use that to define this outside edge a little bit. Okay. So this in here needs to be darker, but I think we'll move on to into here to make some of these parts darker. So let's do this big Eastern Indian red. Let's try that. Let's define the main segmented areas. So I'm thinking like this and this. Use my glassine paper. Okay, so we kind of already did some of the shapes. So I'm just refining them. No, I shouldn't blow on that, should I? So these are clear shapes because they're shadows between the hairs showing the skin. So this is not the right color per se, but we're going to put some Indian red on top of it. It definitely needs to be darker than it was. So just trying to make it make sense, as if there were hairs crisscrossing around in there. So you have to be super careful using a super sharp point. And this, interestingly, I can see a definite line right here of where there's shadow, and then this tiny bit over here is a little bit more orange. So I think that would be cool to keep. Doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to kind of give the illusion that there's hairs in there. There we go. These little sections are where you just need to get lost in the details. I just try and focus in on the shapes, not really look at anything else. And then hopefully when I look back at the whole thing, it makes sense. And if it doesn't, I just keep working, try and figure it out. Okay, so that is really beastery. So then we're gonna do Indian red. I'll sharpen it. So I'm just going back over my shapes I already drew, making them more red. And we'll have to darken these hairs when we're finished. But it's easier for me to kind of see what I'm doing like this. Okay. So what's this? On the sides, let's roll with a medium flush. That's probably not what it's called anymore. Number 131. Coral. Oh, this looks kind of cool. The salmon. Salmon might be cool. Let me check that. I like the salmon because it stands out more. Showing that there's a difference. And then down here, probably need to put some sort of a yellow in there as well. Okay. Cream is a yellow. So I started with the Prismacolor and then, I don't know, I guess I'm used to the cream and the Prismacolor. I would use that one all the time. It's not comparable to this puppy. This thing is pretty yellow. It's more comparable to this ivory. Okay, so the ear is coming along slowly. Let's just use a darker warm gray. And then we can put some pink over top of it. Warm gray 3 to define the areas between the hairs above where we just did. That's in the shadow. So this side has darker shapes than this side. So I'm going to focus on those. So sometimes I'm looking at the reference photo and sometimes I'm making things up based on what I already have on here. Lots of little shapes. Just kind of indicating that there's a lot of hairs crossing over each other here. Trying to get out to the edge of the ear. Okay, so that was that one we had. So for this one, it's just got some swoopy hairs. Coming down. They're going this way. So sometimes I just sit back and I need to just look at it to see what needs help. So I'm picking up this cinnamon. Okay. Let's get some cool gray going in here. Actually, let's get that cinnamon again. Sorry. Let me see how discombobulated my brain is. And I'm just going to lightly go over some of these gray areas. Not all of them. Just where I can see kind of a pinkier tone in the shadows. Okay. Cold gray 2. Let's try that. So I'm using cold gray 2. So we put a layer of cold gray 1 down. I'm going to try and do some of these shapes that are in here. I know, Lakota. Sighing. Okay. Now let's use a titanium buff. If you don't have this, maybe you have this is a Caran d'Ache Luminance. Maybe you have a Prismacolor cream or white. So this is a Luminance and it's a wax-based pencil. So it's good to blend what you already have down. And I'm doing this really lightly. Because we're going to add more layers on top of it. But it helps to smooth it. And it's not white, it's got a tinge of cream to it, which is why I like it. But you could use a white. But if you can see, it's taking out some of this like graininess, and then we can add on top. Especially right here. All right. So I was using nougat right here, so I'm going to use a little bit more and then go into the dark sepia. So this is just this area at the bottom of the ear, and it's darker than I have it. Trying to keep some areas with that cream kind of color that we made. And then here, you start getting into that other fluff that's coming up above the ear. Dark sepia. Actually, let's do a little beaster first. Beaster in between this darker area. This is sepia, dark sepia. So instead of doing, I don't know, every hair right here, I'm just doing these little clumps of darker fur that I can see. Definitely need to darken these. So as you continue to work on a piece and you darken more and lighten more, which is how I work and probably most color pencil people work, you'll notice that it'll look better. So it may not look beautiful right now, but you just gotta have patience. I'm gonna get a, I don't know, warm gray too. Let's try to kind of depict how it's a little bit darker in here from where it's concave or convex, concave. It's got shape to it. I think I need it darker. Let's do warm gray 3. So especially close to the edge of the ear. So it sounds weird, but you can mix the cold gray and the warm gray, and it's fine. I'm putting a little in over these hairs because they're a little bit darker. Okay. Now, I'm just thinking, if we do this background, then we have to avoid all of this. Which would probably be easier to do with colored pencils. Thinking. All right, let's get that salmon and put some of it in here to make it mesh a little bit better. I'm using light pressure. Maybe even a little bit up here. I don't really like that triangle right there. Okay. I'll put some more cold gray up here. It's a little tuft. I think it goes further than I have it. Cold gray 1. Oh, I didn't mean to use that one. Titanium, the Caran d'Ache, I'm going to use that buff to soften this one a little bit. And you can use the grays are good if you need to knock something back. use some more burnt sienna. Just going to use this to add some individual hairs. And maybe even into the shadows a bit. I feel like there's not a connection between the two right now. I'll put some in this part too. Okay. Used that India red for this part. I'm just not happy with this salmon right here. It's like I had a super strike with my pencil. I want this to make more sense. So I'm gonna put just a touch of this up here in the darker spots. It's really strong. There's another. I don't know, maybe what it is I had the white down in the beginning, and maybe these areas that are ending up pretty sharp were areas where there was no white. Okay, I'm going to start this bit here. And then let this ear sit here for a bit so that I don't overwork it, which is what can happen. Sometimes I will think that something looks horrible and then I come back and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to go to this lighter chunk right here. I don't think I erased that very well. I must have used a crazy pencil when I was outlining this cat. Okay, so ivory, we'll do ivory. Okay, so I was thinking about this drawing, and I think it needs to have the background. So usually I figure that out before I start. But I did not this time. Okay, mental note not to use that eraser. So that was the Perfection Faber-Castell. It's an eraser, and I'm using it on my other piece, which is on, that I'm working on concurrently with this one, which is on Strathmore mixed media gray or tan paper, and it works quite well. But on this paper, just left a mark. Anyway, hopefully we can cover that up. Just erasing some of my lines. So today, I just want to get the side of the ear, maybe work my way over to this ear. So I'm thinking about this spot and maybe this spot. We'll see. Might skip over to this side, because I was thinking while I'm at it, we might as well finish the ears, and then we're gonna have to map out areas for the hairs, which will be interesting. So working on this ear, the tufts on it and the side of it. Just going in with ivory is the base. So I don't have any black here. It's all dark sepia right here, so I'm not that worried about it mixing with that. This way we can get the shape of the head right before we do the background. And I think a green kind of bokeh background will look really cool with the cat's green eyes. So I'm just really just coloring that in. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this side as well. Basically, it's the same colors on both sides. See how much we can get done of that. So I never know how long something is going to take with colored pencils. It's a very slow medium. I started timing. I'm drawing this, it's a Palomino horse, using another artist's techniques, because that's how I like to learn. That's the one I'm drawing on the Strathmore mixed media paper using Prismacolors, and I'm recording the amount of time it takes me this time because I'm just curious. It's a bit of a bigger piece, definitely bigger than this. I don't know if I think I did it bigger, maybe 11 by 14 or something like that. And it has a solid green bouquet background. Whew, that background's killing me. Really enjoying drawing the horse. Not so much the background. Okay, so we have ivory on that. I did not bring my picture up on my iPad yet. Okay. To find it. Kitty cat. Okay. So we got to start layering. Let's just do the whole thing with the flesh and the warm gray. Sorry, not flesh, beige root. These three make a pretty good base, so they're kind of comparable to maybe raw umber 10% with the Caran d'Ache luminance, which is a really nice base color, a lighter color that you can just build on top of. Moving in the direction of the fur, but I'm just going back and forth, kind of scratching it on there. It's just the base. So this is nice and light, so it should be easy to create some fur strands with the green up top to go in between the fur, which is why when I was thinking about it yesterday after doing this ear, I think the background just needs to be there because otherwise you're not going to see these tufts, which I don't know, are one reason why I was drawn to this photograph in the first place. I just like these long-haired kitties. Okay. So we do the warm gray one. Find it. Just gonna add a little cream. Going really light with this because it's so strong. Just a little more ivory. So this paper's, I don't know, I haven't drawn on it in a while. It's pretty good. It can hold a lot of layers. I've gotten so used to the pastel mat. Coming back to this has been kind of odd. Because you use different techniques on different types of paper. Some beaster probably. So I don't like to go through and select my colors before I start drawing because I don't know what it's going to look like when I do my layers. So for this layer, I'm going really light. And there's more color down towards the base of the ear. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. But I'm trying to capture a little bit more of the hair feel. You can see kind of spiky hair.